hi. All right, good morning, everyone. To day 3 of final presentation. Good to stay dev on today. So I know we have some guests. Just for your information, we have 5 teams going today. They're going to give a presentation on what they've done this semester, what they accomplished. Give us a sense of that, possibly give us a demo either live or in video to show the work that they've accomplished. They'll have 15 minutes. You can keep an eye on me in the clock, and then 5 minutes Q&A afterwards. So we've got Sustained Dev, then we're doing Telepathways, then Blue Farmers, then Sparks, and we'll end with Embrace. So, Sustained Dev.
Good morning, everyone. We are Sustained Dive team, and before we started, we want to show a demo video. Okay, so this is our demo video, and we are Sustained Dive team. So we are making a game to bring a joyful digital experience and enlightening people about sustainability and its related goals. And our demographic is college student. Our team has me, I'm Sharon, and Kishan, and Nancy, and Evans, and Christine, and also Weilin. Our client is our instructors are John and Scott, and our client is Alexandra Henneker, and she is the director of sustainability initiatives at Carnegie Mellon University. And about her need, she wants us to make a fun game with a joyful digital experience and also enlightening people about the concept of sustainability and also its related goals. And also, she wants us to show the relationship between people's real life and the sustainable development. So our overarching purpose was to get students to think about the sustainability broadly than just the environment. And through the global goals, we know that many aspects contribute to sustainability, such as no poverty, zero hunger, good health, and also reduced inequality. So we want the students to think about how to find those equitable solutions and also how to define these issues.
So the most important things for us is to decide interactive and playable gameplays which will meet clients' needs and requirements. And also we have write down the document to record what we had did and some instruction about how to extend in the future. We made the game by Unity and it's built by WebGL format. Player can visit our game on our website or itch.io. So our biggest challenge is we need to cover all 17 sustainable goals in one game. It is very large. So our solution is to set up the awareness of 17 goals and instead of deeply understand them. The second part is the game design. So we are making a fun policy-making card simulation game, which will encourage player to discover and reflect the policy on the real world, and eventually have the conversation with others.
So there are many related ATC projects in the past, like CivRep, Space County, and River Matters. We also refer to many similar card games like Wingspan and Lost in Fantasyland, as well as some games that are made to raise the awareness of the Sustainable Development Goals. So we did some analysis of those related works to see which ones we could base our work on, and also their weakness or pitfalls so that we could do better with our own project. So here's an overview of what we built for the client. Essentially, the name's Shapetopia, and essentially it's a policy-making card game which player can implement policies in the game by playing cards. And those policies are related to all 17 different sustainable development goals. So in the meantime, the player can also see the city changes accordingly in the background as they are implementing those policies. So as our game is a city management game, so we need some stats to describe the city. After researching and working with the client, we nailed down those 4 indexes to thoroughly and effectively describe the city, as well as covering all the 17 goals. So those are environmental responsibility, quality of life, equal opportunity, and prosperity for all. By the way, those are all color-coded. So here's an example of our policy card. So we made many unique illustrations with unified style for each of them. In a total, we made more than 50 of them. So, and by the way, those are all color-coded in the same way as those indexes. My teammate is going to elaborate more on the card design part later. Okay.
Next, I would like to introduce our game flows. So basically, our game has 3 main phases, which are playing cards phase, interview phase, and random incident phase. And also, we prepared a little tutorial part for the players. So in the tutorial part, there will be this little cute figure who acts as private secretary of the player in the game. So basically, through some jolly conversation, this guy will introduce all the essential game features and mechanisms to the player in case of the player get lost in the future gameplay. So the first phase in our game is playing cards phase, during which the player will learn, analyze, and reflect. So we prepared 2 layers of incentive to encourage the player to explore and mess around in the city. The first incentive is the stats, and when changing stats, there will be corresponding visual feedbacks. And the second layer is the SDG goals. So when you hover on the policy card, there will be corresponding SDG goals showing up at top of the screen. And also, we prepared a collection system. So noticing on right top of the screen, there will be this button. Once you hit them, you will enter the collection boxes. All the cards that the player have played will lie here, categorized by the SG goals. So this system encouraged the player to unlock more cards and unlock more goals. And once you click them, there will be a detailed description of the cards for players to think and reflect. The second phase is the interview part. So basically, once the player finishing playing card each round, there will be 2 random citizens pop up and giving some remarks about what player did last round. So we prepare for this phase because we want to reward the players for what they did last round and also set up goals for them next round. Last but not least, we'll also have a random incidents part. This bad incidents happens when the player focusing too much on a specific field while neglecting other kinds of needs of the city. So this phase acts as a sort of punishment or warning because we want the players to realize the importance of balanced development, which is a very crucial notion in the sustainable development.
So the next part is going to be playtests. So while we were still developing our game, we conducted several moderated user tests within the ETC to evaluate our game and find potential problems. And after we're done with our core gameplay, we conducted an unmoderated user test with external playtesters. And before the playtesting, we have created this user journey map that help us to predict users' behaviors, wants, and their confusion at different stages of the game. And also, we have created a survey for users to provide us more direct feedback. So on the playtesting day, there were 30 playtesters to come play our game. And from the survey, we see that 21 of them didn't know anything about SDGs before playing the game. And 27 of them claimed that they have a more clear understanding of the sustainable development goals after our game experience. And here's a quote from one of the playtesters claiming that he didn't realize that inequality is also part of the SDGs. And also he believed that these metrics can be used in daily lives like hiring practices. While there are a lot of positive feedback from the playtesters, we also found three major issues that we need to continuously improve and iterate on. And the first thing is that we need to integrate SDGs more completely in the gameplay. And this, our first modification is that we changed the card design a little bit. And this is our original design. And this is our updated version. So we have eliminated the numbers on the cards so people can focus more on the policy themselves and the descriptions instead of just calculating the numbers. And also we have removed the SDGs from specific cards, and instead we have a SDG panel on top of our main interface, and when people are hovering over our cards, the corresponding SDGs will light up. And the second modification is that we have added a ending page which calculates how many SDGs people have collected throughout the process. And this is our first version and the updated version. And the next issue is that people want more direct feedback when they're playing specific cards. So for each of the indexes, we have designed a visual feedback for each one of them. And the first one, environmental responsibility, is that we apply the camera filter and the particle system in the city. So when the index is low, it's mimicking a gray and yellowish fog covering the city. And when the increases, people can see that the entire city more clearly, and we have a brighter filter. And the next is prosperity for all. So this index will be represented by the randomly generated buildings in the city. The next index is quality of life. So this will be represented by the number of citizens and also citizens' behaviors. So when it increases, you can see people are walking in a more lively and relaxing mood. And the last term is equal opportunity. So this will be represented by UI components of the pop-up emojis on each of the citizens. So this is when the indexes are low, and this is when the indexes increases.
So our final part is the overwhelming information that we got. We have too much words and too many message that we want to represent. So here's the example that we fixed. So here's the tutorial. We shorted the tutorial time and also having more image on the tutorial to express our words. And also for the here's the second example that we just having more image to represent what we are going to talk about in the game. And here's what we learned from this semester. We got less of is more, meaning that we cut a lot of features, and also we need we learned that we need a performance strategy. We also know that the team atmosphere is also important as well, and also we understand the game development process with during the project. We got much better understanding. And here's our last step, having the design document to our client, and also assist the client in the future if she needs our help. And here's summary. That's all for our presentation. Thank you very much.
Do you have like any questions or comments for us? Like, feel free to ask.
You did a lot of work on UI, but one thing I noticed you did a lot of great work on UI, but one thing I noticed is you're using that kind of emoji characters made out of just ASCII characters as expressions of emotions. Did you get any feedback from your playtesters about those? Because I think those are maybe more legible to certain age groups than others.
Yeah, so our target audience are mostly college students and high school students. So when we were conducting the playtests, we just focused on that part because there were a lot of confusions when we present this to our instructors, and so we want to get more feedback from our target audience, and it turns out that most people understand what they mean, and some people found it really interesting and a very effective visual feedback for the index increase.
Thanks. So you guys said that you made a decision to focus on awareness and not understanding. I'm just wondering, did you notice in playtesting, were there times when awareness led to understanding, and were there factors in your game that you think facilitated that? Thanks.
Well, I'm sorry, can you like explain the problem?
Sorry about
We're kind of confused.
So if somebody's playing your game and they become aware of one of the sustainable goals, did you notice over the course of play that they were behaving in a way that didn't just show that they were aware of it, but that they actually understood what they were doing, they understood how that impacted the system? Yeah.
Well, I think one of the most important notion that our client want us to convey to the audience is that all the 17 goals are interconnected. So we designed all those policies to be interconnected. What we didn't show in the presentation is that we designed like a very complicated system for the policy tree. So it's like a structure where you, after you play certain card, you can unlock new cards, and those are like in a structural order, so that people will know that when you play certain card, and then you can unlock other cards. And also the policies are interconnected too. So it's like one policy are related to maybe 3 or 4 different goals. And so it's like, it's hard to picture it in our brain, but it's like we try to convey the idea as those are all interconnected and these are an organic whole. So after playing the game, most of the playtesters get the idea that it's like managing city is a very difficult task, and all those goals we want to achieve is like related to each other. So when I was trying to focus on this one, and I also accidentally achieve other ones. So so that's what we try to convey to the audience. Yeah.
Time for one more?
Yeah, if you had more time, like a few more months, what would you focus on?
I think we would like focus on polish our policy card, because many of the card has like maybe incorrect content. We want to like correct them with our client, and also like
Yeah, maybe add more cards so that it's add to more replayability. And also, I think we wanted to play on mobile more fluently. So it's like now we have some performance issues. That's definitely something we could be working on in the future.
All right, next thing.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, we're Team Telepathway. Our project is interactive 3D visualization for machine learning. And these are our team members. And instructor Ruth, consultant Mike, and industry experts from Google, Aaron, Shiro, and Grady. As a Blue Sky and the Discovery project, we don't have a specific client, but we have Google as the sponsor to make it a research gift for us. So the main goal of Telepathway is to discover how 3D data visualization and the interactions can be used to represent the high dimensionality features of machine learning models in an engaging environment. First of all, we regarded the concept of machine learning as a black box, and we wanted to open it up and figure it out with the prototypes. Our target demographic is people in higher education who are intimidated to explore the concept of machine learning. We defined our global hypothesis. Providing an engaging environment can raise interest and curiosity that can shift the attitudes towards machine learning and build a cyclical relationship between the pursuit of learning and engagement. So to do this, we developed 5 prototypes in 3 algorithms, 4 data types with 3 platforms, and we conducted 7 user tests, including 105 playtesters. In terms of our final deliverables, we will present 5 prototypes, a SIGGRAPH poster paper abstract, a blog, and the final video to document everything.
So for our Spring 1, we chose to raise users' curiosity of machine learning, and we used Kmeans algorithm to do the interact activity. And K-means is a technique for data clustering using machine learning. So we chose K-means because clustering is everywhere in daily life because, for example, we clustering color from light to dark or warm to cold. And we did 2 prototypes for K-means using traditional data and non-traditional data. So we use flowers in garden to visualize the K-means algorithm and show step-by-step calculation, and also clustering the 2D image by clustering the different pixel, like RGB value of each pixel. So we got some insights from the playtest, and these are the things we will bring to our further prototype development. First one is customization. It make user to decide what to drop in, and they will have an experience for that. And also the scaffolding will provide understandable information for users, and also the memorable moments. They will if they say something they didn't say before, they will have a wow moment, and finally turn to aha moment when they got it understand. And also the appear animation will let the user feel more engaging and interested. And there's also something we need to re-understand and re-evaluate. The first one is math for choice. We chose the math for randomly, like the flower, but the user didn't notice that there's a connection between the flower and the data. And so we need to think about something else. And also if user need to wait for a long time, so they will not be patient and lose interest. And also for takeaways, we want user to understand things for their takeaways. And also for the agency, it matters that user can have inputs that will affect what's going on, so they will have more engaging experience.
Okay, so from our feedback, lots of people say that they're looking forward to a VR version of painting prototype. So we feel like we made it. We feel like this time we need to improve the immersion experience. So to do this, we removed the customization process. We pre-process the image data to reduce the waiting time. And this is a video for the VR version of this painting prototype. You can see the paintings in VR. And also, we can walk into the painting in VR. So we did playtesting to compare the VR one with the PC one. 18 playtesters attended. We asked them questions about engagement, understanding, and data representation. So the successful factor is the visually striking and more memorable experience and the immersive experience. The thing we need to reevaluate is that very few users read Kmeans' description in VR.
So we realized from our past prototypes that curiosity is an important factor for engagement, and engagement can lead to greater understanding. So we brainstormed multiple ways to raise engagement, and we decided to use a novel device called Ultra Haptics, which allows users to feel music through sonic vibration. So for this sprint, our sprint-specific hypothesis would be novelty increases engagement, and we use fast Fourier transform algorithm and music data. These are some things that we carried over from our past prototypes. One, we found out that non-traditional data is more engaging, so we used music data, and we allowed users to upload their custom songs that they want, so the whole experience can be more relatable. So this is how we represented beat. The haptic motion is tapping palm. And note would be tapping fingers. Lastly, representation of accents would be open palm, open circle on palm. So after this tutorial, users will listen to music, and they can disable some buttons if they want to focus on a few aspects of song, and also change the next song or change the theme of the play. So we conducted 3 user testings with 51 person came. And for the first playtest, we conducted with ETC students, and we have it set it 2 different ways. One, you can only feel the music. And another setup that you can see the visual, see what's going on, and feel the music. And from this playtest, we found out that people were engaged in the process. People find the devices interesting, but we weren't really sure if people are actually understanding data because the device is so novel. So for the second playtest, we set up in 2 different ways. One, we play the correct song that matched haptic feedback matched the actual song. And another setup where we play a wrong song, so the song doesn't match up with haptic music, and see if people can actually figure that out. But for first-time players on playtesting day, most of the people didn't notice that there was a wrong song. People thought that, oh, this is so cool, so that's it. So we brought the first group back, the ETC students back, and see if they can actually understand data. And we heard from a lot of people that they said, the beat felt off, note felt off, so people were actually understanding the data. So the conclusion from this is that novelty leads to interest, returnability, and ultimately greater understanding, and overwhelming novelty might hinder understanding sometimes.
Okay, which leads us to our last sprint that we did, which was focused on understanding, and it was focused mainly on something called reinforcement learning, which in effect is training something to react and then giving it a reward or a punishment based on whether or not you want that reaction in the future. So we talked about metaphor choice before. Flowers were just an arbitrary metaphor choice. So this time we took a figurative approach, and we used real things that connected to the algorithm instead of just being a symbol. And so in this case, the user was actually trying to help a dinosaur navigate the world. It was trying to avoid lava, and it was trying to get meat, which served as the punishment and the reward. So this is kind of, you can see the punishment and the reward being manifested as a metaphor that made sense cohesively, which worked a lot better. We also had a lot of visual appeal success throughout our sprints, But this time we realized that we had to use clarifying appeal so that the appeal actually did something, so it was clarifying when something died or something lived. And the more attention we drew to something, the more important it was. Descriptions didn't work, shockingly. And so we put in story this time, and we scaffolded it. So because the scaffolding worked with raw information, we decided to use story beats for each level so that people could follow along piece by piece. And then the customization that we had a lot of success with, we leveraged that again in a sandbox mode, and that was actually really productive, and people enjoyed that once they had been scaffolded in. So just back to what reinforcement learning is, you're doing an action, you're getting a reward or punishment back from the environment. And so that leads us to our Sprint 3 pitch here, which was narrative storytelling uses relatability to lead users towards ML understanding. And we used Q-learning, and it was just a mouse, simple drag and drop game that we actually passed to John Baelish, and Bokong will tell you more about that.
So as mentioned before, we designed a simple story about teaching the dinosaur to find the meat and avoid danger. Also, we designed 6 levels to gamify the experience, and each level is focused on one specific concept of reinforcement learning. So this is our level 1, so we focus on the action the AI have. So you can see the dinosaur is walking forward, backward, left, right. So this is all the action the AI have. And next level is about the reward. So we use the meat as a reward, so you can see the user can drag a meat to the environment, and then a user can see the training process in real time. So at the beginning, the dinosaur cannot find the right way to reach the meat, but finally it will find the best way to reach the meat after training. Yeah. And next level is about the punishment. So this time we use lava as the punishment, so when the dinosaur reaches the lava, it will die, and then it will restart the training. So at the beginning, it will reach the lava and die, and restart training. So finally, it can find the meat without reach the lava. And next level is about how AI make decisions. So as you can see, in this level, we have 2 ways to reach the meat. So here we have a rock which is also the punishment, but it will not kill the dinosaur. So as you can imagine, finally, the dinosaur will choose the way which has less rock. And next level is about the dynamic environment. So after training, you can see the dinosaur found the way to reach the meat in the middle. But at this time, the user can change the world dynamically, such as put some lava to block the meat. So, and finally, after training, the dinosaur will realize that it cannot reach the meat in the middle, and it will find another meat. And finally, we have a sandbox mode, so the user can create whatever they want and to see how AI react. So this is a screenshot from our playtester. And so we also conduct playtesting, and here is our result. We found that the figurative approach, the storytelling, the gamified experience can really help users understand the machine learning better and increase the engagement. However, the similar metaphors, such as the lava and the rock, will make people confused.
So overall, our team are devoted to talk about how curiosity, engagement, and understanding become a continual circle process to let people shift their attitude towards AI. So there is our final conclusion. The relatable visual metaphors help increase informational accessibility and emotional memorability. With greater accessibility comes greater engagement, creating a recursive response which fits into a circle that potentially results in more lasting paradigm shift. And here is our impact. And here is our matrix, which is prototyping, innovation, interactive, and documentation.
Cool. And so what we learned, and just kind of going over the last challenges, we had issues with precision, topic coverage, innovation, and we were stuck in brainstorming hell because we were afraid of failure. We had a lot of hypotheses. Simplification, doing a ton of iterations and prototypes, failing fast, just starting, and knowing when to fold, and knowing what those milestones were that we had to hit were the ways that we kind of bridge these gaps as the semester went on. This is our poster abstract, which we already submitted to SIGGRAPH, and we are waiting on feedback for how we did. We may submit to Kai in the fall. We did just a recap, 5 prototypes, a poster paper abstract, a blog, a final video, and thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes, Mo.
Did you look into working with real open source data sets for this project?
Yeah, actually we did. Our first prototype for the painting was with a data set on, actually I think flower profiles for different iris flowers and other public data sets. We started looking at, actually thanks to Eric, who's in the audience, we started looking at Twitter data sets and other things too, which Google has worked with in the past, but we didn't end up using them because it wasn't of interest to people. We couldn't make a good metaphor for that. It would just be a straight visualization at that point. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I was curious why you didn't choose to work with them, so if you could talk more about that, that would be...
Why we did
not use those data sets.
Yeah, so we learned on our first sprint that the interesting data that we picked had to be really visualized from a high-level perspective, even without modification through machine learning, if they were going to see it pass through the system and change. So no one knows what, Twitter data is supposed to look like. So it's hard for them to visually understand that in 3D, even in general. So changing it and then clustering it wouldn't do that much for them. And there are other things that do that. So using something like image or painting data where you can actually viscerally feel the things pulling apart, or music where you can feel it extracting beats and notes, was just so visceral and so much more easily understood, just naturally, that it made more sense than using sort of a public giant data set. Yes, Scott. So the question was, why do we think haptics was best to represent the fast Fourier transform for the music prototype? And we felt like haptics and audio are kind of two halves of the same whole, of like vibrations through air. And so we also were looking at accessibility throughout this project as sort of a side goal. And one of the things we wanted to try to do was see if we could make music more accessible. And the cool thing about the fast Fourier transform algorithm was that we could run it basically in real time. And so we can actually do this extraction with live music. So presumably, and with a caveat, we did not play test this with anyone who's hard of hearing or hearing impaired, but we were hoping that at least you could feel the profile of a a song, and get a sort of sense of how it would feel, even if you couldn't hear it. And so our goal was trying to kind of simulate the senses, and those are the two closest related senses. And we also had an ultra haptics board from Ruth, so that was a really big deal, and we wanted to try to use it as well as we could. Yeah, Eric.
I'm curious how your Google client think about your creation, your prototype.
It's a good question. Yeah, they were very excited, actually. The main thing we heard from Erin, who was our primary contact at Google, was that what we had done really confirmed her suspicions about how learning in this capacity would work well, and that the way that we've been teaching these things, not from an artistic perspective, was actually misguided, and that having artists or having people come at it from different angles and ways of appreciating this in our own lives was actually really useful. So she was really, really happy to see what we had done. And it was nice. I think throughout, she was just very curious to see what we would come up with.
Yeah, and she was also interested to see this moving further with educational side, so see if how machine learning interpreted to middle schoolers, if we have visuals that can help them understand better, they can engage them better. This can be a new way of approaching how to understand technology or understanding any high-level subjects.
And we also shared this, the dinosaur prototype with the drone baelish. And he is very interested in using this prototype in the educational purpose. Yeah.
All right, thanks so much.
Hello everyone, we're Team Blue Farmers. In this semester, we're working on an AR project named Bluestream Farm AR. It is now launched and ready to be downloaded on App Store and also Google Play. Our team is consisting of 4 people. I'm Chi-Wen, I'm the producer and visual designer, and also the artist. Jialu is our programmer, and Shiwen is our UI and UX designer, and Tili is our UX researcher. And our instructor is John, and Mike is our consultant. About our projects, Bluestream Farm AR is a transformational augmented reality mobile application that helps high school students to understand the knowledge of aquaponics system while they're visiting the Bluestream Farm. About Bluestream Farm, it is a West Virginia-based nonprofit entity who offers some aquaponic class to students. A quick recap of what aquaponics system is. So, aquaponics system is consisting of 3 major parts: fish tank, and then filter, and then grow bed. In chemical perspective, the ammonia in the fish waste, after reacting with 2 kinds of bacteria, is turned into nitrite and then into nitrate. And nitrate is a nutrient for the plants. And our clients want to use our app to first teach the high school students knowledge about aquaponics system, and second, they want to make their on-site teaching more interesting and engaging. And third, they would like to make our experience on-site available, and if we have time, they also want to make it off-site available.
So in order to meet our clients' need, we decided to pay an in-person visit to our Bluestream Farms facilities. And here are 3 main points that we identified for the high school students. So the first thing we observe is that the current tour is about the tour guide speaking and the students listening. So this kind of passive learning is not really engaging for the high school students. So some people maybe like lose their attention to the tour guide. And next thing we observe is not everything is visible to the students. So, for example, the water in the fish tank is so murky that people can't really see the fish inside, and let alone the bacteria, which are inherently invisible to the students. Since students cannot see them, it's really hard for them to visualize in their heads how they look like. And lastly, the chemistry itself happening in the aquaponics system is hard to understand for sure. So now the challenge becomes, how may we create an AR game experience that visualizes the key aquaponic concepts and engage the high school students during the on-site experience? So we come up with this idea of AR journey of the fish food. So the users will first play as the fish food, and they will enter the whole aquaponics system consisting of fish tank, filter, and grow bed. And lastly, by going through this aquaponics system, the fish food will eventually turn into a plant. So for each chapter, for example, under the fish tank, students need to scan the stickers, play the minigame, and learn the knowledge at the end. So here are our 3 initial prototypes for the minigame sections. So the first part is about the feeding fish. The player will play as the fish food and try to feed the fish. And the second one is about going through the filters to react with bacteria inside. And the last one is approaching the roots in order to nourish the roots.
To bridge our design concept to the final product, we iterate based on our playtest. Here is how we utilize playtest to drive our iteration. So firstly, we did over 30 times playtest, including 15 high school students, who is our target audience. And based on the conclusion and the insight of the playtest, we went through 3 versions of design, including the proofs of the concept, completion of the using flow, and iteration details, including the UI UX interaction, tag performances, etc. And during the whole process, we constantly developed and experiment with our high school students to make sure that we can find a better solution. And then I will talk about more details about the playtest and the design interaction. For the playtest, our overall goal is to test the usability, playability, and the educational effect. For the playability and the usability, we adopt the generative methodology, including the focusing group, observation, think aloud, to help us to find out the user's behavior and their truly needs. And for the educational effect, we deliver quantitative survey, which is a short quiz about the aquaponic system knowledge and the recommendation or willingness of our product. And then we look at the data that we saw a significant data increase, which is 32% of the correct rate of their knowledge absorbing. And also we found that our satisfaction matrix is 95, which is pretty high. And for the design interaction, we basically break down them into three parts. The first one is about the interaction. Initially, we were mainly torn with 3 types of interaction. You can tap your phone, shake your phone, and approaching the objective using your phone. We finally locked down to the approach because we think that it is the most intuitive ones based on our playtest. And for the instruction system, because we want to balance the traditional UI component and the AR immersive instruction system, so we transfer the traditional UI to the immersive chatting bubble, just like that. And that is for the immersive design. And for the effective design, because we want our target audience to learn the chemistry knowledge while they are playing the game. So we directly put the chemical formula on the screen. And the data shows that we did make them absorb the chemistry formula based on our survey. And for the feedback, because we want to use the feedback to strengthen our design and try to help our users to play our game without any friction and confusion. So we adopt 3 types of feedback, including visual, haptic, and acoustic. And as you can see that both in the fielding fish and the fielding root chapter, we provide some hurt bubbles. We give our users dialogue bubbles. We change the color. We make the fish turn to the audience when they want to feeding the fish. And also to increase the feedback more, we add some phone vibration and sound effect. And then let's Jialu talk about our final product.
Let me introduce our final product. So for each chapter, you need to scan sticker to start. For here, you can see the 3 portals of our each chapter: fish tank, filter, and grow bed. In the first chapter, you are playing as a fish food trying to get consumed by the fish. You can approach to feed fish. If you try to feed the same fish for a second time, you will see that the fish saying, "I'm full, go find another fish." You need to feed 3 different fish in this chapter to finish, and you will finally turn into a fish poop. In the second chapter, you are playing as a fish waste trying to get through the filter to get purified. After you successfully get through 3 filters, the water will get cleaned up, and you will turn to the purified ammonia and react with bacteria in the chemical filters. So you need to react with 2 kinds of bacteria and finally transform from ammonia to nitrite and into nitrate, which are nutrients that benefit both plants. In the third chapter, you are playing as a nutrient you're going to approach the root to feed the plants, and also you need to do that for 3 times to finish this chapter. At the end of each chapter, you will see this knowledge page with text, videos, and also graphics to help you understand what's going on in each chapter and knowledge behind. After you finish the final chapter, you will see this aquaponic cycle as a recap and also see what plants you turned into. For our clients, they have the opportunity for on-site playtesters to let them taste the plants, give them seeds, or do anything else they want to do. After our playtest, we found out that players really enjoy to see the virtual objects overlaying on the facilities. They even enjoy the moment of asking their friends to get out of their way when they're trying to feed the fish or feed the plants. Our product is also adaptable and modularized because we designed it to be scan stickers to start. For the on-site playtesters, they just need to scan stickers on the facilities. For the off-site, you can just scan them on our website. So our product can be played as an introduction to the aquaponics system if you go through the whole process. It can be also used as an educational tool for teachers who want their students to jump into either chapter. We also have this instruction poster for both on-site and off-site players to get some additional information, like some instructions of safeties or the order of the aquaponic cycle of the stickers. Finally, in the wrap-up, we also made the responsible user interface come true to ensure the content consistency on different screen sizes. In order to finally publish our app to both Google Play and Apple Store, we help our clients to set up developer accounts, and after several days of review and adjustment, we are really proud to announce that now you can download and experience our product both on Android and iOS devices.
So at the end, I want to share some retrospective and reflection of our whole semester and the product. And the first thing I want to share here is we accomplished more than we are asked. So initially, our client invite us to develop an on-site AR experience for the high school students. But what we do is, firstly, we extend the audience range. No matter you're a kindergarten kid, you're a high school student, you're a college student, even you are an adult, you can find the exciting part of our game. And secondly, at the same time, we enhance the education. We create fun. We make people laugh, discuss, and share. And also, we utilize our clients' space, and we make our product, no matter off-site, available, and second floor available. And the second thing I want to share here is about how we diagnose our product from the perspective of the users, client, and the product itself. As I have mentioned that our users is really satisfied with our product because our NPS metrics is over 90%. And also we interviewed with our clients last week, and they gave us 10 score of 10 for our whole product. They said that we're a good marketing promotion tool for them, and we align with their mission and also fulfill their requirements. And also, the last thing is that we try to diagnose our product from the quantitative metrics, including we have said that the successful rate of the first-time playing is over 90%. And also, the average playing time is around 4 minutes, which is reasonable both on-site and off-site. And our false quit rate is only 3%, and the restart rate is 15%. And then we want to share the lessons we have learned around the whole semester. The first thing is that although our team only have 4 people, the solo programmer and the 3 UX and the UI person, which is a little bit overlapping on the skill set. But we try to focus on the different direction, so we make the magic happen through the team collaboration. And the second thing is that we learn from the fast iteration, which lead to the final launch and the success of our product. And finally, what we always do is we do not blindly do what our clients ask us to do. Instead, we do they really need. And the end of the end, we package all the materials, including our product documentation, posters, website to the client, to the ETC professors, and our future student. And also, we make our product launch, no matter at the Apple Store and the Google Play. Although this semester will coming to the end soon, but the adventure of the fish food will never stop. Thank you for listening to our presentation today. And do not hesitate to download our product using your phone. And we are open to all the questions and opinions. Thanks.
What are some specific examples of failing fast? How did you react to that?
Yeah, I think for each iteration is a failure for us. For example, you see the 3 interactions that we think of, like the tapping, the shaking of phone, and the approaching. So we kind of we prototype it really fast using like Adobe Arrow stuff. So the programmer didn't even have to like build it herself. So we tested it out and realized like the tapping doesn't work because it is like it doesn't really take advantage of the AR features. The shaking doesn't work because that doesn't generalize to other things. So we kind of do that iteration really fast. And we went to the Blue Stream Farms facility every other week to test it out with high school students to see if there's any improvements we can improve our products. So this kind of things we learn, like we fail basically each week and then we iterate each week. Yes.
So I saw that you have a lot of the students who liked it.
Yep.
And that was obvious. But what about the retention of knowledge, given what you were trying to teach them? Did you actually test for that at all?
Yeah, as I have mentioned that because we deliver a survey, which is a short quiz about the aquaponics system knowledge, we will ask that what component is consisting in the aquaponics system, what is adding to the whole system, like what is a chemical compound, including the process. And before they play our game, the average correct rate is only 30%. But after the game, we witnessed that the data increased to the 90%. So that is how we prove our effectiveness of the educational.
So in one of your slides, you showed that you adapt your app according to the size of the device screen. I wonder how you change the UI or how you do rearrange the UI or how you do that.
It's like just use Unity image canvas. You can place the icon like into different corners of the screen, and you can use the inspector and also the play mode to test it fits the different screen sizes. And finally, we also test on different actual devices to see if it works.
And also when we are designing those user interfaces, we use a grid system available on the Figma, so we make sure like it is scalable to other devices as well.
Very strong work. Have you thought about publishing it and maybe doing an IRB and doing more formal framework so you can publish how this works out in the field?
Yeah, the first thing is that actually we have launched our product to the App Store. So our plan is just we deliver all the outcome to our client. But if they want us to give the furthermore suggestions or some consultants, we will be willing to do that.
Maybe like come to ETSC to do another project for the future development.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are Team Sparks. In the next 15 minutes, we are going to share what we have done for this semester. Before we get started, I would like to briefly introduce our team. We are Team Sparks, and we have Yukti, Ash, Peter, Jerry, and myself, Valerie. Our instructor is Brenda Hager, and our client is Ruth Comley. Our consultant is Ruth Comley. Our client is Dr. Samira Kiani from the University of Pittsburgh. She is the director of Terminal Life, and also she is an expert of gene editing. Next, I would like to introduce our project, Unmute. Unmute is a discovery project that explores an entertainment-based approach to scientific education. The solution we provided to our client is we try to create an engaging experience about gene editing that allow players to explore, learn, and play. We also wanted to present both sides of the debate regarding the controversial topics of gene editing and CRISPR. We proposed an interactive virtual online museum with videos and articles whose content will be provided and edited by scientists. In order for this experience to reach the largest possible audience, we chose WebGL as our platform. Next, I will pass to Yukti to talk about the changes from Hubs.
Thank you, Valerie. So, we received a great deal of feedback about our experience from Hubs. Most of the major concerns at the time were related to scope, our target audience, and the effectiveness of our design decisions. We needed to rethink some of these decisions that we had made in order to deliver on the promises. We also needed to commit to tangible goals that could be observed and recorded during playtests, and then also prioritize what we wanted our players to feel after having played through our experience, and then narrow down our interactions and experience flow to that and only that, and then use playtesting to refine these decisions. Therefore, based on some of the feedback we received, here are some of the changes that we finally implemented. First of all, we dropped all the features related to multiplayer functionality, including but not limited to player-to-player interaction and the messaging system. Secondly, we brought down the size of our target audience to high school students only. Next, all of the content that you will see in our experience has been populated by our team. However, the authenticity of our sources has been verified by our client herself. Finally, the mini-games that are located in our experience now serve a very specific purpose. That is, they are scattered around the experience that encourages players to explore the environment. Now, before we go into any further details, we would like to show the room a brief overview of our experience.
Unmute is an interactive virtual science museum, a WebGL experience where the users can traverse a lively and compelling environment in order to learn more about CRISPR technology. Presenting technical terms and information in an interactive format allows a player to engage with this content to a greater extent, where they not only obtain reliable information, but also use it to solve puzzles and quizzes contained in the environment. Users explore the experience as a customizable robot character, which can watch videos, play mini-games, listen to podcasts, take photos, and even address questions directly to scientists themselves.
So the three key elements of our experiences are explore, learn, and play. And we'll break it down for you one by one. I'll start with explore, and Jerry will talk about learn and play later. First, let me introduce you to the entrance. This is where the player first sees when he opened the experience. The entrance includes the name of our project, the team logo, and our ETC logo. From here, a player will be prompted with instructions, and player can enter the plaza through the portal. In addition, players can customize their character based on the colors and text they like. And this is the plaza. Here, a player can freely traverse and explore the open space we have created. Players will discover and play different mini-games scattered around the space, enter halls, take photos, watch videos, and listen to podcasts. The overall visuals and layout of the space did a great job encouraging play exploration. And one of our playtesters says he really likes exploring the place in general, and he likes the fact that nothing is truly mandatory to interact with. The plaza has 2 floors. The first floor is where all the halls and mini-games will be located. And the second floor will be having all the videos and the podcasts from our clients, Mira. There are 3 halls in total, Hall A, B, and C. Each hall serves different purposes. Hall A will give players a general idea of CRISPR technology. Hall B will introduce the potential bright side of the CRISPR technology. And Hall C will talk about the dark side of CRISPR technology. We created each hall with different color tones and environments to differentiate them, trying to use the environment as a method to convey information to the user more effectively. And next, I'll hand it over to Jerry to talk about Learn and Play.
Thanks. So, as Peter mentioned, we designed Hall A, B, and C as the main places for users to learn knowledge. And we populate these halls with showboards, which will respond to characters' movement when it comes inside a certain range. And by clicking on the Learn More button on the showboards, players can browse through the videos and articles that we manually gather together. And also, we designed a set of multi-choice quizzes at the end of each hall to check the correctness of users' understanding. And we devised these questions under the help from Samira, and we also made sure that all the answers to the quizzes can be found in the corresponding hall so that users won't get too frustrated trying to find the right answer in this huge space. And on the second floor, we filled the circular space with curved screens showing the copyrighted video trailers that Samira made with her film crew. And there's also an interactive sound booth playing the podcast show that Samira hosted herself. So, apart from learning, we also want this journey to be fun and enjoyable. And we are well aware that there are loads of information in the halls. So that's why we opted to design 3 minigames, which are Sliding Tail, Match Flip, and CRISPR Beat, for users to take a break from the videos and the articles. And we made sure that all the games are intuitive, relaxing, but also somehow related to the CRISPR topic. And we designed the visuals of the games to be consistent with the rest of the world. Then, to juice up this experience even more, we designed a camera function for users to take and save photos, and a golf game that player can just kick around just for fun. And for each of the games and interactions mentioned above, we designed a badge that player can collect after they achieve certain goals. And through this passport system, we give players positive feedback and encourage especially achieverists to explore more in this world. And I will pass to Ash to talk about some iterations we've done after playtesting.
Thank you, Jerry. During our design process, we conducted multiple usability testing on young generations. And later, with the help from our client and also our instructor, we were able to send out the link to our target audience, which is high school students. And we got more than 17 responses in total. Among the feedbacks, it shows 79% of the users are satisfied with our experience, and 85% of them learned from it. The overall feedback is positive. People mentioned something like, learning about CRISPR technology was introduced in a fun way, instead of reading the article in my own time. However, during the soft opening, we also got some actionable feedback. For example, like people feel it's hard to find how to control the avatar. There are multiple ways to solve this problem. At first, we thought about to simplify the control by only use keyboard or mouse control. However, there are some interaction couldn't be complete with only mouse or keyboard control. Therefore, we designed an instructor page, which will be presented to the user when they first land into our experience. And they can also always review it by clicking the question mark. The other problem was people are easily feel lost in the plaza. So we rearranged the environment and which encouraged them to visit our halls in the ABC order so that it shows it was a designed experience. And we also created a pamphlet which contains the map and also information of our world. This could act like a navigation guide for them. We also added the avatar image to the UI so they can see the instant feedback after they made changes. Besides, we added sound setting function, which allow people to turn the sound, effect, and music off so that they can focus on the content from the video. Last but not least, many playtesters said the loading time was too long, and it was reinforced in our soft opening. So we compressed the texture and managed to reduce the build size by 50%. Next, I'll pass to Jerry to talk about our project handover and documentation.
Thank you, Ash. So our client plans to host this project on her own after this semester. So we help shift all the build files from ETC dev server to the server of Tomorrow Live. And the project will be handed over to her with a comprehensive technical documentation covering the implementation of all the major systems in this project. And additionally, this document will provide a step-by-step tutorial on how to change the content in the halls and on the second floor. So for next, Yuki will share some lessons we learned from this semester.
Thank you, Jerry. I would like to share some of the most important learnings for us as a team from this project. We've realized the importance of defining our project scope as early in the semester as possible. This would have saved us some valuable development time. Secondly, knowing our target audience would have allowed us to use more tried and tested approaches to understand their needs and appeal to them in a better fashion. Once we knew what we want our users to feel after having played this experience, we could have used playtesting data in a more effective sense. Finally, defining what success looks like would have helped us to prioritize our most non-negotiable targets. Overall, working on this project was a very positive experience, and our client was extremely appreciative of the work that we put in. This project would have not been possible without the support of our advisor, Brenda Harger, and of our client, Dr. Samira Kiani. We would also like to extend a special thanks to all of our playtesters for their most invaluable feedback. That brings us to the end of our presentation for today, and we are now open for questions. Thank you.
So your demo, there's a lot in there, and you may have said this already, and I may have missed it, so excuse me if that's happened. But you say there's 3 games. It seems like in the demo there's a lot more to do, but I didn't see that. I didn't see you talk about that in your explanation of what's in that space to interact with.
We basically put a lot of interactions in the space. I think, for example, the mini golf, the photo booth and the sound booth and all the videos that you can watch live on the second floor. And of course, we also put an elevator to help the player to basically go to the second floor. And yeah, it's all in the space and it's all cohesive and they all linked together. So it's basically we're trying to make the space a lively and and enjoyable space for the player to be experiencing.
So building on that, there is so much in there. Do you have in-game metrics, analytics, so your client knows which videos are watched, which activities were done? That could be really useful to know if people are going for the content or going for the badges or both. It's okay to say you didn't consider it.
We didn't end up supporting that.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the good things about museums is that people can go on one day, see something, come back another day, see that same thing and learn about it in a deeper way. In your playtesting, did you guys have any repeat playtesters? And how did they interact with it? Did they come back to one hall and just try and learn everything about one aspect of CRISPR? Or did you just not have repeat playtesters?
I think the 5 of us are the only repeated playtesters. Yeah, so we don't have.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine.
So what's the most common reason that playtesters would use this instead of reading the article, watching the video somewhere else?
Could you repeat the question again?
Why would a user use this instead of watch the video or see the article separately? Like, what's inclining them to go into this?
Because we try to create an engaging experience, like allow players to watch, to explore, learn, and play at the same time. So like they can play mini games for to have a rest while they are learning something from the other resources.
And also to add on to that, another feature that we have in here is that should the guests have any questions, they can contact our client, Dr. Samira Kiani, directly from the experience herself, from the experience itself, and she will respond to these questions at her own time. And this essentially acts as a more reliable source of information as opposed to just Googling something and not knowing if, because this is a controversial topic, not knowing if what you're reading is biased or factually correct in any way whatsoever.
Time for one more. All right, thanks, team.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here for our final presentation. We are Embrace. Today, we will be presenting about an interactive and collaborative experience about cultural humility. So first of all, I would like our team members to introduce themselves, starting from Alexa.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alexa. I'm the UI UX designer, also the systems producer.
Hi, I'm Charles, the game designer and the programmer.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm 2D artist, graphic designer, and game designer.
Hi, I'm Shan. I'm the lead producer.
Hello, I'm Jeffrey. I'm the lead game designer and the programmer.
Hi, I'm Shicai. I'm the lead programmer of the team.
And we have Mike and Rolf as our faculty advisors. So starting off, I would like to introduce our client, Aaron Lefford, who is the Associate Dean of for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Detroit College here at CMU. So the scenario that we were provided include a first-year orientation session about cultural humility, and the activity will likely be held at McConomy Auditorium. So what we are responsible for is a 15-minute introduction activity within a whole 90-minute orientation session. And we will be dealing with 300 to 400 audience in an auditorium, and the activity will be led by a live facilitator. So the activity format that we decided to use include big and small.
Big, meaning we will utilize the big projector screen, which is similar to what we have here at the RPIS. And then also we will ask every audience to pull out their phone and then engage in the experience through a web browser. So for the overall experience, we have 5 parts. First is concept intro. So we will introduce the concept of cultural identity, and cultural humility here. Second is an original idea of building cultural wheels. Here, we would ask the players to reflect on cultural aspects. And the third part, we call seeking, will be a group activity that we treat as a celebration of cultural diversity. And the fourth part, which is also the last part of our activity, is a wrap-up report, where we utilize data visualization and summary to close the activity. And the fifth part is a roundtable discussion. It will be led by the facilitator in breakout rooms, but it will not be part of our deliverable.
All right, so let's walk you through it. So the first step is to introduce certain concepts to make sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to terminology. To do that, we introduce 3 key terms, the first being culture. We define culture as the norms or way of life as a group of people. That can be a large group of people like citizens of the United States, or a small group of people like people at the ETC. These cultures can be continuously evolving and dynamic over time, and it's overall just the way of life. Next up, we have cultural identity. Whereas culture is more broad and spans multiple people, cultural identity is more personal. Your cultural identity is the intersection of different aspects that creates who you are. It's a sense of belonging to those individual groups and the unique combination that they combine within you. Over time, different aspects may be more important than others, but your cultural identity never has to be fixed and can change over time. Finally, we have cultural humility. Cultural humility is a process. It's a process of understanding where you come from and how that impacts the way that you see the world around you. It's reflecting on your own background and your own cultural identity, but also being open to learning about other people's, learning from every culture out there. It's challenging the assumptions you have based on your own background and opening yourself and your mind to hearing about others' experiences. Moving forward, we want to introduce the idea of culture wheels. So what is a culture wheel? Rather than trying to capture the infinite span of what culture could be considered and what all the different aspects of cultural identity, we chose just 6 to focus on, as you can see on the wheel. We chose this format to show that all of these things come together to form who you are and to be able to show mathematically that some may be some may be bigger than others. Some wedges are bigger than others. So how do we do that? On the participant side, there's a couple different stages. First off, we have them fill out a survey based off of the 6 questions. These survey questions are intended to be relatively easy to answer as an introduction to the idea of culture, questions that you should know the answer to without too much self-reflection. From there, you are asked to rate the relative importance of each of these different factors on a scale of 1 to 5. Overall, those 2 elements will be combined into your own custom culture wheel, which will serve as your player icon for the remainder of our activity. Once all the wheels are generated, the participants will be thrown into a lobby where not only will they be able to embrace their own culture wheel, they'll be able to see everyone else's, see what other people chose to share with the group. As you move throughout, you can interact with the world, both through movement controls as well as giving positive reinforcement through thumbs up, as well as scrolling through to see all the different aspects and attributes that other people chose to share with the group in an anonymized way.
And after everyone becomes familiar with the controls, the facilitator can send them into our next part, the seeking activity. So the players are virtually divided and sent to several breakout rooms, each with around 20 people. And the players will be assigned with random cultural attributes, and they have to find and tap on a person with that attribute to solve the task. And they can keep scoring by solving the task 1 by 1. And also, all the scores from all the players will be summed up on the big screen so that the facilitator can refer to it to keep track of the progress. And the tasks are always guaranteed to be solvable, and they will not repeat before the players go through all of the attributes within the room. And the purpose of this activity is to let the players explore the others' cultural identities through a playful process with goals and rewards. And after the players together score to a satisfying number of points, the facilitator can decide to move all of them into our final part, the wrap-up report. So on the phone screen, the players will receive a personalized summary of the score and their cultural attributes. And we will showcase how people that share the same cultural attributes with you can still differ from you at the same time. And on this screen, we will provide several word clouds of the frequency of the player's attributes in the 6 aspects. And the facilitator can refer to it to bring up more discussions, summarize the activity, and furthermore leads to the roundtable session.
Okay, so let me introduce our design goals and achievements. For the audience, we will enable self-reflection on one's own cultural aspects and then show cultural diversity within participants in an inclusive way. And then encourage openness to understand others' cultural aspects. So for the facilitator, we will create an atmosphere where audience is comfortable sharing, and this is also a tool that is easy to use and deploy. And then we will help and guide naive presenters through using our product. We will also give a comprehensive program guide to the facilitator as a handbook. And in this handbook, we will cover all the steps of how to use and deploy our product to make sure everyone can use it very easily. So next part is our development cycle. At the beginning, we started with a brainstorm process, and then we did some research about our topic, cultural humility. And then we had some initial design ideas. After that, what we were always doing this semester was research, playtest, and iteration. About our iteration and prototyping process, we made some simple paper prototypes at the beginning to help us do some playtests. And then we had our first digital prototype based on Figma. And then by using the Phaser, a kind of game engine, we had our first interactable and playable prototype. We also held several playtests during this semester and covered more than 100 playtesters, which is really helpful and to our development and iteration.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the feedbacks we received from the playtest and what are the iterations we made according to those feedbacks. The first thing is our server capacity. The first version of our server is poorly designed and very inefficient, that only 10 playtesters can crash the whole server. So there's three things we made to improve the performance of our server. The first one is we optimized the algorithm for transferring data, which hugely decreased the load of our server. And the second thing is we developed a robot system to test and evaluate how our server is working well. As you can see, all those sum ups are sent by our robots. And the third thing is we migrate our server from glitch to ADC server, which has a more powerful CPU, also gave us a more accurate specification on the CPU parameter that we will give to our client as a technical requirement. After all the things we've done, our server now is capable of providing 300 to 400 connections at the same time with a very stable state. Another thing we really made is the bucket activity, our original gameplay, which is the major iterations we've made. So our original gameplay is a bucket-based puzzle-solving process, but during the playtest, we noticed that our playtesters didn't know why they are doing this activity, and the process is not fun enough for them to be engaged. So we tried to make some improvements. We created a more polished UI, and we add more animations, and we tried to make the buckets more responsive, but it just didn't seem to work. So we finally made the decision to abandon this idea and come up with something brand new. And this is the seeking activity that you are seeing now. We believe the goal is much more clear, it's more fun to play with, and most importantly, it conveys our message more clearly, that is to celebrate the diversity of cultures. And this is a tough decision. it is just before the soft opening and leads to many crunch weeks after that. But we're really glad we made the decision because it pays off. We received a 40% increase from our feedback surveys in people saying that they understand the whole activity. And also our client is very much satisfied that we made this change. Also, the third thing is that we noticed that there's too many text in our presentation, in our product. Apparently, we try to squeeze too many things into it. So we just did some redesign of the graphics. We try to make the text more cleaner, and we redesigned the grid, and we incorporate some animations to make it more fun to look at and to keep the players engaged. And after this, I'm gonna pass it to Alexa to talk about our close-up.
Yeah, thank you, Shicai. So let's look back to the semester. So first of all, what we did well. The first one is we did a lot of play tests and we gathered a lot of feedback so that we do a lot of iteration based on that. So that is a huge course for us. The second one is we have really awesome team members, so everyone is collaborative and do a really good teamwork. The third one is we have a weekly meeting with our awesome faculty, instructor, and our client, which really gave us some ideas and more inspirations for our activity. The last one is we never give up. When we met some problems, we just sit down and do a discussion and to find a best solution for that. The second part is what can we do better? The first one is maybe we need to build our MVP, which is minimum value product, much earlier than, because we do a long process for our alpha version. The second one is we need to consider like add more factor much more earlier than we did. So let's talk about deliverable. So first of all, we will deliver a web-based activity to our client, and we also will have a tutorial video, like a video demo for them. We will, as we mentioned before, we have a live handbook for the facilitators to show all the instructions. And next step, we will debut this activity in the district college orientation this August, and we'll also release all the resources online, so for anyone want to use it. So in conclusion, we are Embrace. We made a web-based activity, interaction and collaborative activity based on cultural humanity, and it will hold 300 to 400 people in our auditorium, led by a live facilitator. So it will be a 15 minutes introduction activity followed by a roundtable discussion. So that's all. Thank you for your time, and feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.
Did you see any social embarrassment from answering truthfully when people were asked whether what their culture aspects, I guess?
Not outright social embarrassment. I think the fact that we have the anonymized system in place sort of helps us to prevent some of that embarrassment in play, as well as there's the option to prefer not to say if it's something that truly does come up. And I know one of the things that we wanted to consider with the word clouds especially was maybe if some responses were more sparse because more people preferred not to say, that's something that the facilitator can address, like to see if there's that overall trend. But otherwise, I don't think that we noticed any specific embarrassment per se.
And I believe we've noticed some players are really willing to share what their specialties during the playtest.
Hi, from the back. So having done a lot of work in my life in economy, you're talking about moderating an event in which 400 people will take part, right? Do I have that right? So what was the biggest group that you tested with?
I believe the largest group we had was around 30 to 40 people at a time.
Right. And are all you going to be there to help moderate?
I know at least a few of us plan to be there just to see it deployed. I know we have Ayana as a facilitator, and I believe she has other staff members as well.
Yeah, I'm just prepare for chaos.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. It's a big room, as you know, right? It's
Yeah,
a big room.
I think much of the chaos will come with the small group discussions, which is more on the facilitator side in terms of how they choose to coordinate that. But in terms of our actual product as well, I think that is good feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, and speaking of chaos, we've also prepared some situations that where the technologies may fall apart, or for some people, for some devices. So we've written them in the handbook for the facilitator to explain and to prepare something for them to do while in this activity.
Any other questions?
I just quickly, can you talk a little bit how you developed the questions themselves, and like was that in coordination with the client and those things?
So the survey questions, we had a pretty long development process between the team and the client and the faculty advisors. I know originally we had, I believe, 8 or 9 different aspects that we wanted to ask about just based off of what we as a team thought would be important to identity. Our client suggested a couple additional ones, bringing us up to 12, before the faculty very strongly encouraged us to trim it down to 6. So we decided to go through the process of calling it culture light, making it those more surface level questions to then lead into further discussions in the small group, but sort of capturing the essence of like starting that thinking process within the questions themselves.
All right, that's time.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, congratulations to all the teams that went today, and faculty, we will go to the boardroom.